Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Saturday morning live stream. It's been a crazy week, as I'm sure you all are aware. We've had this absolutely insane time with Omid Scobie's book. It has been absolutely incredible to watch this whole thing fall apart and everything like that. It has been absolutely crazy. I just cannot believe it in a lot of ways. And I still kind of waver backwards and forwards. Was this a publicity stunt? Was this just an accident? I still lean sometimes a bit more towards accident, but I will have to say, if the publisher at any point did any of this as a publicity stunt to help sell his book, which was not selling well, then I would have to say that is probably one of the most despicable things I think I've ever seen in professional. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And we do have a couple of new members to shout out here. We have Lady Avatar, Aviator. God, I don't know why I said Avatar. Lady Aviator. Hello. Thank you so much for joining. And we also have Nana233 as well. Thank you guys so much. And we also have a tip here from Lady Aviator. I'm an American and work for the Dutch military. They understand and speak English better than most English speakers. They are very detail oriented and professional. Scobie did this 100%. Yes, I think regardless of what happened, I think what to me is like the clear absolute lie about this whole fiasco is Scobie saying, well, it was their names weren't written down anywhere. And I'm like, well, they were clearly written down somewhere at some point. Like, that's an obvious lie. That's so an obvious lie, because also too, if they were just a guess put in by the Dutch publisher, I don't know why they would do that, but why did they get the names right? Why did they allegedly get the names right? Because Meghan sort of confirmed that those names were accurate. So I just think that's absolutely like impossible to ignore. So it's just been just again, and the Dutch speak English very well. I don't think I've been to anywhere. Went to the Netherlands briefly earlier this year. I was there probably about 48 hours. And most people I met spoke English, and they'd start speaking to me in Dutch. I'm like, oh, English. And they're like, oh yeah, yeah. I'm like, oh man, sometimes as an American, I feel so dumb sometimes when I travel. I need to work on my language skills. But anyways, this 100% could not have been a mistake that came from anywhere but Omid Scobie and his publishers. And we do have John Masood. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work, young lady. Why, thank you. I do appreciate it. I will have a video, guys, that goes live later today because I dissect Omid's interview with this morning, which is fascinating. If you haven't actually watched it, it's actually a pretty good interview, I would say. Like, sometimes I think they give him a little bit too much sympathy because, they're so hard on him. They assassinate his character. Not that he doesn't assassinate other people's character. Oh, no. It's all about him. Very, very a la Meghan Markle. And so, this will be a fascinating fallout. I hope the palace needs to do something. That'll probably be, hopefully, maybe I'll get another video done today too for tomorrow. But it's getting to the point where the palace really needs to do something. They just can't sit on this stuff anymore. I think everybody's tired of it. Even the Times of London came out and said, essentially, there are 30 peerages in Great Britain and Ireland. I think we'd all be okay with 29. And I think Charles needs to seriously take this advice because I think everybody's kind of done at this point. So our first comment though in our live stream here, we have Lorena. I says, I doubt it. And then we also have Care Bear. This has to be Meghan's work. Why else would Scobie risk his career going after Princess Catherine so viciously? Meghan's more of a Stepford wife living off her husband and not working. I actually think sort of the opposite here, because I think Scobie is actually, like, if you listen to his interviews, he is very self-obsessed. He completely and utterly thinks that he is like the savior of the monarchy in a way, that he's bringing these conversations that should happen. And maybe they should, and maybe they shouldn't. But what I think is really interesting about Scobie is that I think he's as bad as Meghan is. He is a Meghan in a man's body with a bit of a weird look and self-obsessed and wants his career to go a particular way. And I think he is completely vindictive about the fact that he was not welcomed within the Royal Rota. And much like Meghan, his whole shtick is, if you listen to a lot of his interviews, his like answer is, at some point he says in this morning interview, I'm mixed race, so I may have something to say too. And it's like, well, yeah, that's right, but maybe it's not worth hearing. Did he ever think of that? I don't think so. And so it's just again this interesting dynamic at play here that's just totally Meghan. And there's like so many echoes of Meghan and Omid. Adopt a G DX says, "Good morning from Alberta, Canada. Regarding the latest book, I find it so hard to believe that Princess Catherine private persona would possibly be so different from her public one." Yes, I don't think Catherine's that much difference between public and private. I think, she's more of an introverted person. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I think she's very warm and kind. I don't think she is super flashy or sometimes that into some aspects of royalty like Meghan was. And so I think she is definitely very much the person you see is the person you get. That's not the case with Meghan Markle. We've heard time and time example of this is that she says one thing and does another. And she's also just very like, you meet her, and I think these are the two impressions people have. You either think she's the greatest person on earth, or there's something that hits you a bit wrong, and you become skeptical pretty quickly because what she's trying to push and exude just comes across as fake. And that's what I think is an example of Meghan Markle. I think she's very, very fake. And people either catch on to that really quickly or they don't. And I think as well, it's like, where was I going with that? She can also be really nice to you when she needs something. And then she can also be just extremely nasty to you on another occasion when she feels like she has power over you. For Meghan, every relationship is a power dynamic, and she wants to have the ultimate power in that relationship. Okay. And we also have a Diz fan here. Thank you so much for the tip this morning. Do you think Piers Morgan did the right thing naming the two royals that are in the Dutch version? Also, does Harry need to come clean? So when it comes to Piers Morgan, I actually am 100% okay with that. It was all over social media. At that point, to actually have the discussion, and I think also as well to highlight how vindictive and nasty Omid Scobie and Meghan Markle are, you needed to hear the names because I don't think anybody believes this thing about Catherine. And we all know Meghan does not like Catherine at all. I think Meghan has incredibly hated Catherine just by happenstance that Catherine happened to marry William before Meghan married Harry, and Catherine will be the future queen and Meghan will not. I think some of that just comes from the fact that Meghan just found herself not liking Catherine, and Catherine also as well didn't fall for the fake charm. I think anybody who doesn't fall immediately for Meghan's fake charm, like she is out to get you. Because she wants you to believe the veneer. Because Meghan Markle is all about presentation. She's not all about authenticity. She'll present herself a certain way. I mean, again, she told us this all in her reality TV show. She talked about how she really was interested in Harry's Instagram because that tells you the truth of who somebody is their Instagram. But I don't know about you, but I've been through Instagram, and I know a lot of people who fake a lot of stuff on social media. So Instagram is you could call it almost your shadow self, what you think people want to see or what you want to show the world. You don't show yourself, really having a bad day or something like that. Like that's not what people show on Instagram. People show their successes there. So I think it's totally fine I'm okay. And I don't quite understand. And I guess it's not my country, so I'm not sure. I don't understand sort of the legal hesitation. I don't quite get that because we accuse a lot of people of a lot of different things here in the States that sometimes are true and sometimes they're not true. And as well, again, I think it was all over social media. Everybody knew. I will say I do resent any publication that said, because the page 6 did not put, they basically called Catherine the royal racist, and they didn't put in there alleged. Like you needed to put alleged in there because at this point, this is all alleging. There's no proof anywhere, and so you need to actually put those kind of language things in there. I've and everything I've written, I pretty much put alleged, likely, seemed, something like that. I put a what's it called? I can't think of the word for it right now, but a qualifier, so that you're not directly accusing. Either say, well, I think I heard, or this was been reported stuff. Or the ledge seems to likely. Again, all that language you need to put in there. Does Harry need to come clean? Well, Harry and Meghan need to have a better response than, oh, it didn't come from us, because we all know it came from them. It's kind of like Omid Scobie going in there. Well, I don't talk to Meghan Markle. And it's like, we all know you do. Or, he's complaining, well, I'm just, wanting to talk about race. And, Meghan just happened to be a convenient, avenue to do that. was his excuse. It's like, yeah, but all you do is talk about her. So you can't really say that you're really an unbiased journalist. I think there was even some article I read where they called him a decent journalist. I'm like, he's not. He's not. He's so driven by his own emotional agenda. And that's what comes across, which you'll see later in my video. I just have to make it live and just make the thumbnail for it because I kind of was debating on the thumbnail. So we have Call Me Cordelia, who became a YouTube member. Yay, so exciting. We also have Ashley Claire here real quick. I think the palace might do something with public support. The titles need to go. The palace needs to do something. Harry has to be waking up. Yes, I can't see this. If Harry and Meghan were doing this thinking that the palace would be happy, or not happy, but that they would get a reaction that they wanted out of this, they were sorely mistaken. This was a huge, huge blunder. And it doesn't come across well because nobody really believes Meghan. And at this point, the thing has gone on so long and it's been teased so much that I think people just have come to the conclusion that most likely this was just an innocent conversation that somehow got blown out of proportion. And so that is what I think everybody has concluded here. And I think the Times of London, which is, the premier publication in the country, saying at this point, the titles need to go. I think everybody's kind of like, yeah, everybody's sort of agreeing with that at this point. So that's very, very frustrating, I think, for all at this point, because everybody's sort of done with it. Everybody knows this is Harry and Meghan. Them claiming it's not. Nobody believes that. No, absolutely nobody believes that. And everybody's just done. And I think Charles needs to, even the simplest thing of taking them off the website, huge. And I think going down the title route and the letters of patent route, those kids don't need titles. They're Americans. They'll grow up in America. Them having titles is stupid because they'll probably be stripped further down the line anyway. So I might as well do it now, which is why Harry and Meghan should have never given the kids the names in the first place, or the titles. But also I think, and somebody mentioned this in an article I read, and I think it's true, that the palace has always been a little too far behind all this. They are too far behind always, Harry and Meghan. And so they need to figure out how to address this because it's become, they're always reacting rather than being reactive. So they need to take the big steps here. Strip the titles, letters of patent, take them off the website. Like, they need to do the big things and stop allowing Harry and Meghan to drive everything and to them being caught flat-footed like all the time. Because it's just not working. Wow, we got a lot here. We got Crunchy Dragon, became a YouTube member. Thank you so much. And we also have Chelsea, gifted 5 Royal News Network memberships. Oh, yay. And then we also have J.S. Crawford saying, greetings from Canada. Is it possible this is Scobie's revenge on Meghan and Harry for markling him? Possibly. Again, it's Harry and Meghan don't come, like, nobody's coming through this thinking they look great. And Scobie's, and again, Scobie, you can tell he wants some sort of ritzy lifestyle. The pictures the guy took in California were all about showing the glitz and glamour, and they were very influencery. So this is a guy who desperately wants to be essentially Meghan Markle. He wants to be famous. He wants money. He wants power. He wants privilege. And if Harry and Meghan aren't giving him what he wants anymore, I think he's totally willing to throw them under the bus, which is why Harry and Meghan haven't said anything about the interview, because then they would have to admit they were involved in it. Because again, Omid Scobie's been using very clever language here, saying that, well, I did have a private interview with Meghan. Well, he could have had a public one in like a public place with other people there. Then he would being abide by his own situation. And then we also have just that he has been frozen out of the royals. Like, he went all in on Harry and Meghan, and he had this platform, and then he got completely shut out of everything royal, pretty much. I think he has offers to go to any royal events. He is basically blackballed. And so he's lost a lot of his stuff. Like, his Yahoo job, I think he got that under the supposition that he would be able to go and he would have access, and it would help get him more access, but didn't do any of that because the palace doesn't like him. And so he's stuck with just the same thing he always was, which was Harry and Meghan. And so he's kind of just, he doesn't really have much of a career, I don't think. Oh my goodness, we'll get through these real quick here. We have Bonnie Fuller became a member. Thank you so much. And we have American Woman gifted 5 Royal News Network memberships. That is awesome. And then we have Sherry as well became a YouTube member. Yay, so exciting. And then we also have Crunchy Dragon question. Did you see the interview with the interpreter? I have not seen that yet. And so I will go back and hopefully catch it. But I mean, I know what interpreters need to go through. I'm somewhat familiar with that. And so that they would put a name in there, like different paragraphs, would not happen. There's just no way, especially getting them right. It was in a draft. I mean, he told a bald-faced lie when he said it wasn't ever in the book. Bald-faced lie. It was probably in a draft or something. Again, the line with syntax and language, I find very abhorrent, because even if you're saying, well, it wasn't in my final book, it wasn't a draft. Like, stop lying about that. It wasn't a draft. Like, we're not dumb. And I hate it when celebrities and people high up, like, think people are dumb or think like the public is stupid. It's like, I'm not stupid. I like totally know what's going on here. Okay. And so we do have Marlene as well. Thank you so much for the tip here. Good morning. And Tanya says we should try to get Brittany 100 likes this time. The show starts. Thumbs up. Yes, so much. We have Shelly here. I'm wondering if any laws have been broken here. I've seen people in the street arrested for name calling against royals. Do the same apply for this book? There is some sort of law at play here. I'm just not privy to the details. I just don't know. And obviously as well, like Piers Morgan took a legal risk revealing the names, but again, they were all over social media. I, kind of questioned whether or not I should keep them in the video I had, but I'm like, it's out there. And again, I feel like you can't address something unless you put out the truth somewhere. You need to be very careful in how you do that. But I don't like the double speak language, and it's like you're saying it and you're not saying it, and it's like, well, who is it? Like, and I had people asking me that on Twitter. They're like, well, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? And I was like, it's right there, like it's all over Twitter. But it's like the royals are just not, it's just needs to work on it. Blackpink, I missed your live last week. It's great that I did miss with this one. Yes, awesome. And I do have to say, I watched the video of, I need to post it. It's like these guys, like Korean Brits or something. So they're British guys, learned Korean. They were invited to the state banquet. If you haven't seen their video on YouTube, it is awesome. And they actually got to sit next to Blackpink, and the ladies from Blackpink were so excited because the men spoke Korean, and most of the people there did not speak Korean. And they know some English, but they're like, oh, I can speak Korean. I don't have to worry about, translating in my head and stuff, which I thought was really sweet. Okay, I'm going to take a quick sip of my gingerbread hot cocoa this morning in the Austria mug that I got from my last trip in Austria. Oh, and I do have the prices back for the Scotland trip. It will be a bit pricey. That I can't really control any of the, I did what I could to control the prices, but there's some things that are out of my control. So if you guys are interested in that, I will be posting that very, very soon. Okay. Older, wiser. It's not either. This was a coordinated attack on the royals because they've ignored Meghan for 5 years and she can't take it. Yes. I mean, Meghan is just not, Meghan just, yeah, she's just doesn't like the royals at all and feels very, very comfortable trying to destroy them. Okay, and we have a question here from Steven, and a tip. Thank you so much. Neil Sean UK posted a video. The hotel Harry uses to avoid Meghan. Omid visited it and picked up packages from there. No emails to be traceable. Yes, I have absolutely no doubt. Again, they collaborated on this in some way. Again, what the language he's using is very suspect. And I have no doubt people were like giving things on the side and stuff like that, like 100%. Like, and who else is talking to him? Because we know he has no royal excess. We know this. And he has some contacts, sure, but not nearly as much as anybody else. And again, he complains that people question his sources and his validity, but that's because he has made his career out of pushing Meghan Markle's narrative. And when you do that, it seems like the only person you're talking to is Meghan Markle, because he obviously as well can't speak to other sides of the conversation. That's the challenge too, you see, is that he can't speak to other sides of the conversation, and that's damaging. So actually, Claire says, did you see that this morning interview he got asked tough questions to Omid. He got grilled. He couldn't handle it. He deserves everything coming. Yes, I have a whole video breaking down that interview, and it will be live after this live stream. It was, I decently thought it was actually a very good interview. I recommend watching the whole thing. And I thought Craig, the co-host guy, really did push him where he needed to be pushed. And Omid was uncomfortable. Omid was really uncomfortable. And then he had to fall back to, well, I'm mixed race, so I should have a bigger voice. And people were mean to me and assassinating my character, but doesn't also. And he also made the stupid claim. He's like, well, I just want to have a conversation. I was like, you blocked me and I didn't even put anything on your feed and you blocked me. I just took screenshots of his posts and would respond to them, not even tag him or whatever. And that's what got me blocked. And it's like, I wasn't doing anything to you. So clearly you don't want to have a conversation because it's like, I'm pretty respectful for most time. Do you have to block some of the Sussex stands because they just get a little much? Crunchy Dragon says, I feel sorry for that poor interpreter lady. Harry and Meghan make another victim. Yes. And for a guy who claims he wants to support Meghan because she is battling against misogyny, he seems to be perfectly willing to throw another woman under the bus when it suits him. I realize I'm frozen. Can you guys hear me? Oh, goodness. Am I hold? Okay, hold on. Oh, man. Oh, no. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Hold on. All right, do you guys see me now? I'm so sorry. Yeah, internet down. Yeah, my screen totally froze. Are you guys back here yet? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I was in back. Okay, Asma, you did see me. Good. It's like, what happened? So yeah, my screen totally froze, and I realized it, and I couldn't scroll or anything. Oh gosh. And it's not usually it shows me a bar if my internet's bad, but something must have happened. But thankfully too, I didn't lose the stream. I was so worried I was going to lose the stream. So I'm a little though can't get back all the way up to some of the comments. No. Okay, so we'll have to see. So we have Melissa, one of our members, saying, I don't see the RF suing, but I do think it's past time for the letters of the line of succession to be amended, Council of State stripped, and making clear Harkles have nothing to do with the firm or institution. Yes, I 100% believe that. I think it's time to make some big changes, and I think it's time not to just sit back and just rest on the laurels and everything. I think it's really a good time to start really addressing these issues going on within the monarchy and make it clear that if you step out of line, there will be consequences. I know that's hard. And I do feel sorry for Charles because it's obviously he wants to give his son a way back, but at the same time, he just has to make these tough decisions and he can't just sit there and twiddle his thumbs anymore. And so it's just absolutely crazy. And guys, I will say as well, it looks like when I had to do the whole reset, I don't think I can see on my stream anymore. So you may need to, if you asked a question earlier, please put it back in the stream. When I had to do that whole reset, it looked like kind of the top of this, the stream was lost. So if you have a question, feel free to put it back in. I'm so sorry for the technical problem there. But if you can go ahead and put the question back in, that would be absolutely fabulous. So we have Teresa here. Teensy Mom. Let's remember that Omid said Meghan called him after he received online death threats. So let's assume he did not have her number. She definitely has his. Exactly. Why would Meghan Markle be calling him? That doesn't make any sense. And again, she is all about the people who protect and support her. I think Omid Scobie and Meghan got connected through mutual friends. I think Meghan wanted a mouthpiece, and Omid was more than willing to play by those rules and stuff. And he got special access and special treatment. And oh man, the this morning interview talking about Meghan and him getting connected for finding freedom. Like he totally tried to backtrack and go, well, I didn't know Meghan helped with finding freedom until after the a- a- and until the trial. And I'm like, BS. There's no reason Meghan Markle gave you that information unless Meghan Markle was familiar enough with you to trust you with that information. She wouldn't have given you, like, if I had walked into the monarchy right now and said, I'm writing a book about Catherine and William, their staff would probably not really respond to me because they have no clue who I am. And so they probably wouldn't give me a big platform. And Omid Scobie, I mean, he had somewhat a track record there, but he was not a big player and he was from American publication. So he's not like the Royal Rhoda or something. But Meghan Markle saw something she liked and she knew he would give her a favorable spin. And so she's like, yeah, go for it. And to say then that they didn't have any connection, I think is ridiculous. And we have another new member, Devi6219. Thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Okay. Lizzie, the question, if someone thinks Prince William will Harry be suspect? Yes, I think William's fully aware this is probably Harry's doing. Fully aware. Cindy says, I think the Harkle's behavior has become borderline dangerous, absolutely mad. And well, it's definitely not healthy for two people who spout out all the time about the importance of mental health. I don't see any healthy behavior from either of them. And this is just 100% just an epic disaster. It's just bad. And older wiser said, and he was talking about how exhausted he was and he couldn't feel anytime he was asked if he felt bad. He just passed the buck. Yes. Okay, so let's go. Angelina says, and I thought this was interesting. Omid referred to Catherine as Katy Keene in his book. Katy Keene is an American comic character that people in the UK have never heard of. Meghan, on the other hand, has mentioned her in Archie comics. Yes, I have something in common with Meghan Markle, guys. I was also a huge fan of Archie comics. It got to the point where I had read so many of them that I couldn't buy them anymore because although the first comic is always new, the rest are old, and I had basically seen all of them. But when it comes to Katy Keene, I had been royal watching for good, let's say 13 years now, since Catherine and William got engaged. 13 years, very closely. And I was somewhat a peripheral watcher before. I had gotten some like royalty magazines from my local library somebody had donated. So it's like I was a bit into the royals. I have never, ever, 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 ever heard anybody refer to Catherine as Katy Keene. Never, never, ever, ever. And so I don't know where Meghan's getting that. Or Omid's getting that. It feels like something just from Meghan because I have no clue where that was taken from at all. Like I'm wholly unfamiliar with that. I've never heard anybody ever refer to Catherine in that way. And so to me, that just screams fake, false, whatever have you. Oh, and we also have Neely. Thank you so much for the super sticker. You are so kind. I do appreciate it. And so we also have Cakesar says Scobie Scottish and Persian, is that mixed race now? Apparently, yes. Even though I think somebody technically said that those of Iranian descent would be, or Persian descent would be considered actually Caucasian. That I do not know. So that I just thought was kind of interesting. Stacy, the below average turtle. Aw, the below average turtle. I like turtles. When I'm in Hawaii, I love seeing turtles. Turtles are like my favorite thing. Has anyone tried to make Omid into a Vulcan? His eyebrows is showing a bit like that. No, but I did have a thought. I try not to make any comments on his looks, but that is hard. That's really hard. So yeah. So I try not to do that because I think it diminishes some of the actual critical arguments because he's saying, oh, they're just making fun of certain things. I was like, no. I'd like to address you on actual topics. But you just want to refer to everything that's against you as like racism or character assassination or whatever, when a lot of the criticism is legitimate. Asma says Scobie only wants people who agree with them. Yes, and so does Meghan. Meghan only wants people who agrees with her. Harry only wants, and Omid only wants the same. And he doesn't understand or refuses to acknowledge that the reason people don't like him is not because it has anything to do with race or anything like that. It's just he's not likable. Like it's such the Harry and Meghan playbook he's bringing out here. Unfortunately, the thing is he's like 5 years too late. So that narrative just doesn't hold as much water anymore as it used to. Companies are starting to kind of take out their DEI programs just because you end up not getting the best roster if you are looking for physical characteristics rather than somebody who can do a job really well. So yeah, it's been kind of interesting to watch him talk, and he uses very much the same talking points on his like Nightline interview or whatever it was in the UK. But he is not a great interview, and you can really pick apart his arguments if you are looking really well. And he does have this one thing in the This Morning interview where he goes, like you can almost see the anger seeping through. So the Unabridged Book Club says Meghan has always been envious, bitter, jealous of Catherine, the Middleton family, basically the prosperous, charming, blessed life she had. Yes. Yes, that's 100% the case. Meghan is unbelievably jealous of Catherine, and there's nothing she can do. But that was always the case. What's silly to me always is that it was entirely the case that she would always be second fiddle to Catherine. Like, this is not rocket science. And yes, sometimes a little bit of the press was unfair. I think most of it was well-founded, but sometimes it probably was. But you also made it worse by not taking any advice, making people uncomfortable, being argumentative and those sorts of things, and spending too much money. And you are being funded by the taxpayer. You need to recognize that this is not a celebrity. And even Omid Scobie talks about, well, they're not celebrities. I was like, well, that's how Harry and Meghan act. But then he also goes on to say, oh, they're irrelevant now. And I'm like, then why are you talking about them if they're irrelevant? But again, it's just like this weird pseudo world they all live in. Marlene, thank you so much for the tip. Megan's trying to force respond. No response is best. Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. I get what you're saying here. Yes. So Meghan is trying to force a reaction, but it's never worked. And she keeps trying to do the same thing again and again and again, and nothing's ever working. And so I think she gets infinitely frustrated by that. And that's what I think leads her to act out more. I always thought this too, especially as Hollywood continues to go badly for them, the more they'll try to push against the royals or try to reintegrate into the royals because they desperately need that clout in order to make them worthwhile to investors. And unfortunately, again, they've just done such a poor job of setting themselves up in Hollywood. Because I mean, you even had, was it Omid or somebody else says, well, they're no, it was Meghan and Harry in a statement to people talking about how, well, they have this, they were more in big tech than they thought they would be. I was like, but you're not in big tech, and you got all this money from Netflix. You can't be in big tech. Like, and they give the excuse, well, we just had to jump and grab money for all these deals because of getting cut off. And I'm like, no, you didn't. You didn't have to do that. You could have had an actual plan, but no, they didn't have a plan. They thought their plan of Mexit would work, which is them being half in, half out. And when they were told no, they got stuck and they didn't know what to do. And I'm like, I don't have any sympathy for you guys because you're the one who initiated that without a good plan. All right, Disfan says, what do you think is going on behind the scenes in Montecito right now? I imagine Harry is enraged and plates are being thrown. And thank you so much for the tip, or thrown. So I would say things are going well. And I think if they thought or had any inclination at some point that this would play well for them, I think they're not happy in the slightest, nor because people are running to Catherine and William's defense, running to Charles's defense, and Meghan just totally and completely overplayed her hand. And yes, she had that initial reaction she wanted from the Oprah Winfrey interview, but as time went on, more and more people were like, I really think the comments were innocent, and then just got blown way out of proportion. And that's where pretty much everybody seems to be landing anymore, and nobody's really all that happy, and nobody's really that sympathetic to Harry and Meghan anymore. And so I imagine that the atmosphere there is tense, like really, really tense, and it should be because they have a big, big problem. And that is that they're once again falling, becoming mired in this controversy, and they are always, always, always coming up second best. And or even the villain in the scenario. Like they're never the heroes, they're always ending up being the villains. And the simplest answer is for them to not do anything, drop the titles, go live privately, or do something that they want to do, but they keep pushing it and it just never goes well. And then they're just shocked that it's just not doing that. Trina says the exposure of lies is never outrageous. The implication of the lies is outrageous. Yes. Yes. Thank you. And thank you so much for the tip too, Trina. Yes. It's like, it's just like the implication and just I think what really gets me is like I guess what really gets me is that Omid is going on television and lying. He's damaged or hurt Catherine, Charles, the rest of the royals, and then he's going on television, and the translator and the Dutch publisher who are having to eat money to cover up for his mistakes, and he's going on television and lying and continuing to lie. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Like just admit you made a mistake and then you can move on. But at this point, he hasn't admitted anything. And so just the mistakes keep like compounding. It's just unbelievable. And it's just so speaks to who Omid is and who Meghan is that she associates with somebody like him. And that just doesn't, I don't think, reflect well on her either. Kyler says, is this what was behind Meghan signing with Marcus Anderson, even though they've still done nothing with her? Maybe it all has to do with Endgame all along. So she signed more with WME, which Marcus Anderson I don't think is part of. He's part of Soho House. That's his connection. But if I was WME, like, how do you sell her? How do you sell her? She's such a damaged brand, and she's not likable, and people don't like her, and they like her even less. And Catherine has likability scores that Meghan Markle would kill for. I don't think anybody is happy about them. Deborah says, Omid Scobie is pushing his mixed race card. I think he's mixed cultures like the rest of us. We are mixed cultures until we live in a racist environment. No, that's interesting. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. And I could see too, I don't think there's anybody who is in with the Royal Rota, as far as I'm aware, who they're all English. None of them are mixed race as far as I'm aware. But again, they got that position, they had that position, and I'm not for one to going, well, let's just kick a bunch of people out and then slot a bunch of people in who are fit a certain physical stereotype, whatever that happens to be. I don't think that's the way to hire people. And that's just it. Priyanka says, one thing I don't get is how on earth the translator would add names in translation if they were not in the manuscript. They would not. They would not. I mean, that would destroy their career, completely and totally destroy their career. I know just from a historical perspective, there's actually a great book. I don't think it's up here. It's called Veritas. If you look it up, really, really interesting. And it's not the same situation, but it was this guy who was translating he was forging ancient documents, and even this woman who was like the head of ancient languages or something at Harvard fell for this stuff. And it was sort of anti, the established narrative of the Bible that we have. And it was just a reflection about how somebody is so interesting, or sorry, not so interesting, but so invested in continuing their narrative that they overlook what is obviously fake in order to suit their own agenda. So I thought that book was particularly good. I thought that was fantastic. But again, it goes to the fact that translation is a huge issue. As a historian, I know, like, one of the things that I don't know what to do yet is I'll probably have to learn a language. I'm just not sure which one. And if you are translating things wrong and you put in the wrong name in somewhere and you cite the source and somebody comes back and they go, well, they added in a name that wasn't there, that could wreck your career. That could totally destroy your career, just as a historian level. And as a historian, you need to be able to actually read the ancient texts, because if you can't read them, then you risk having somebody translate them and that you don't know, and they maybe translate them incorrectly. That's probably not as much of an issue with with modern languages, but like a translator is a specific skill set. So when I went and I interviewed some people abroad and they didn't speak English, I needed to have, which I don't think I ever had on a trip, a professional translator, not somebody who just can know the language and reflect what that person is saying because they don't get all the information. They can't, like, translating is a specific skill set. And so that is just, again, something that should not, like, there's just no way those names were not in there in some point in the draft. It's totally 100%. And for him to lie is just really, ugh, just annoys me. St. Elmo says, I believe it is slander because the way it was spoken between the two, wondering about if it could be red hair. I was surprised they would have thought Meghan to be double dominate, making it impossible. Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, it's just so. But I think there's specific laws in the UK regarding this that just don't exist here in the States. So I'm just not totally sure, though, about the specifics on that. Renee says, yo, Brittany, Scobie is the Megan version of a journalist, if you can call him that. Yeah, I still can't believe somebody in some interview goes, well, he's a decent journalist. I'm like, no, he's not. He's really not a good journalist. He's really, really not. Journalism is hard, and most of it is dead anymore. And what we've seen in the industry is people who claim they're impartial and then have an obvious bias and then push that and then say that this is the truth when it's really their interpretation of the truth. And Omid even cops to this, and actually part of the interview with This Morning, because he goes, well, they didn't like my narrative. I was like, well, I didn't realize you were reporting a narrative. I thought you were reporting in the news. A narrative is something you make up. It's a story. The news is just should be bare bones facts. So you could say I produce a narrative, but I'm very also clear about my bias. Like, I don't hide behind impartiality because I am pro monarchy. So I want monarchies to survive. That is my main pro outlet, is making sure monarchies survive because I think they're cool and I love history. But beyond that, I will criticize different sides of the equation, but I'm also clear on that. And there's other people who will criticize one time and then tell you that they're impartial, which is what Omid does, which I just don't like. Be at least honest about your bias. Be honest about your bias. That's the best. So that way people can make an informed decision and decide where to go. Like, do they want to stick with you? Do they want to go with somebody else? Do they want to hear your side and then hear another side? That, I think, is important. If you're not clear about your biases, then I think and you're claiming impartiality, I think that's bad news. Mary Jo, thank you so much for the super sticker this morning. We also have Nancy. King Charles has to do something like you, Brittany. So discussing having them being introduced as royals at our military functions. Yes, I think the military aspect still just bothers the heck out of me, and that Harry still wants to go down that route. And he was even mentioned at the White House recently because some of the Invictus Games competitors were there. And I'm like, why are we talking about this guy from the White House, especially mired in the controversy he is? Give me a break. Give me a break. It's just so unbelievably frustrating. And he's not an American. He's a foreign prince exiled here. And he's doing this because he can't do it with his own military. That's what I think bothers me more than anything. It's like, if you want to do this, go home. Like, you can't do this here. And the military needs to stop, like, treating him like he is a representative for them or whatever they're treating him as. They need to treat him as a basically celebrity. That's what he is. He's not a military. He doesn't reflect any military might other than Meghan Markle and their, any toy soldiers his boy might have or something. And I think, again, there's a lot of love for the Invictus Games, but I think the Invictus Games is not sustainable at this point. Unfortunately, I think it's become a money pit. And I think less and less people will be interested in hosting. And then I heard that, like, there were only like 500 competitors. And compared to like how many people are like overall, and compared to how many people are in our military, it's like that's extremely small. And that's just like a little bit of our military and several others too. And it's like I think it's great, but I also think every year is not sustainable or something like that. Maybe it should be every 4 years, kind of like the Olympics. I think just about every year is not working for the games. And I just don't think anybody's attending. So DS says, regarding Diana's diamonds and Meghan's engagement ring, is it possible Prince William took him back and that's the reason why Meghan isn't wearing it? Your thoughts and why? No, I don't think that's the case. And I don't think that's the case because they were inconsequential stones. These are not stones in a major piece. These were not stones as part of the bigger royal collection. These were smaller diamonds within some sort of piece that Diana had owned. I don't think William is that petty. And again, if it was something like if I was him, I'd ask for the watch and the aquamarine ring back. Those are the two things I'd be more worried about than to. I don't mean to sound dismissive, but nameless diamonds and an engagement ring. I think it's a message. I don't think they're doing well. I think the pressure of their lives is getting to them because they bit off a lot more than they can chew. And I think they're getting a lot of pressure to perform and they can't do it. I don't think Meghan is particularly skilled at a lot. Except for she talks a good game. I think she'd make a pretty decent influencer, but that is about her speed. And she signed up for complex roles that she cannot perform and that she aggravates everybody while she's trying to do them. So I don't think that's good. Azuma says, where are the engagement rings? Yeah, I think it's a message. I think I was looking at, for some reason, I was looking at Maria Harrington as somehow you became a little Melissa as I was reading it. So yeah, I don't know where the rings are. And thank you, Maria. You are so kind. Yes, I am back. Yeah, I know. Like the internet went on, either internet program, something went on the fritz. So I was frozen, looking at myself frozen. I'm like, let's see. Okay. So Sugar Cookie, one of our members said, I never thought about Harry's cousin. How would she have known about the info in the letter? Have Eugenie or Beatrice confirmed any of that? I wouldn't think so. But again, I don't think Charles would tell them because apparently, according to one report, Catherine didn't know she was named in it. And I think if Charles did that, if he read the letter and he didn't tell Catherine, I think that is actually very kind because he was going, you know what? I don't need to burden her with this. She already has too much on her plate. I will shoulder this burden for the both of us. I don't need to frustrate her any further with this. We'll just keep it to ourselves or keep it to myself, probably Camilla and one or two like senior, highly trusted aides. Nobody else came across this document. If people knew all over Fleet Street, I think the leaky ship is Harry and Meghan. Jojo says the Katy Keene reference is very telling. No one in the UK knew what he was talking about. No, absolutely not. And it's just kind of a dumb comparison. And she also gets like all the men. She's like this glamorous. If I remember right, I was never a fan of Katy Keene. Didn't really care. But from what I remember, she was very glamorous. She was very beautiful. And she had all the men vying for her attention. Like there's like one thing, and she had like, I think a wall of like different pictures men had given her. So yeah, but I was like Katy Keene, what? Okay. So it says Meghan wasn't even in the room for any conversation. Scobie certainly wasn't. Scobie is slandering via hearsay and fiction. It's not a real author and he should be sued. Yeah, I think so. And again, if I was the author too, I had the names, I don't know if I could report them just because it's like, what's the point? Like you have to weigh, like, I don't think I would have ever written them down because I'm smart. I know as soon as you write something down, it's around forever usually. Like don't send an email to your family member in anger. Like talk to them because in that way you don't have like an email record of like all terrible things that you've said about so and so like out there forever and that they can read again and again and get mad. But when it comes to this situation, it's like I don't think if I had the information as a reporter, I could share because I just don't really want to get into needless family drama and something that's just hearsay. It's two different sides of the conversation. Recollections may vary. I have my shirt on today that says recollections may vary. And I don't like that aspect of journalism that's kind of aggressive and nasty. I don't like that at all. It's just like share the things that need to be shared and don't share the things that don't need to be shared. I don't think they need to be shared. And I don't think you probably needed a big legal explanation for it, like Omid apparently has, defending why he's not naming him. I probably wouldn't even go there. I would probably just brief over the allegations and leave them sort of vague because at the end of the day, does anybody really want the world dissecting a family argument? Not really. Not really. So we have Shaz, one of our members. First thing they need to do is take him off the website. Yes, take him off the website. I'm so tired of them being on the website. Like, they're not like, even Andrew there too, like, at least he's, like, manageable, but Harry and Meghan, it's like they're totally doing their own thing. They aren't coming back. Just take them off the stinking website. Although that website is horribly out of date. It's horribly managed. Their website is horribly, horribly managed. Just saying that as somebody who helped with website management. It's not well managed. I love the Scandinavian royal websites. They are the best because they are easy to navigate. They have great pictures. They have the news there, and you can download the pictures. I love the Scandinavian royals. They are the best. Well, not totally the best. I love the Brits too, but I just love the simplicity of getting pictures and images and news and stuff. MEP says odds of translator suing Scobie for defamation. I would sue him. I would totally and completely sue him. But he will also have never fully the trust of people again. A good chunk of publishing in a lot of places will be very, very hesitant to work with him again because he's so willing to throw somebody else under the bus to save his own hide. Because everybody in the publishing industry was probably looking at him going, no. And why has this not happened in any other book that I've heard of recently where like the translations between the two editions were wildly varied? And again, you can have a situation where the translation is not good. That's different than a translation with different sections than the actual English book. I'm sure there are actually multiple differences between them. We've had some indication of this from Rick Evers, but yes, totally and completely. Okay, we have Gwyneth Fairfield. Thank you so much for the tip. We heart Brittany. Why, thank you guys. I heart you too. Do you think the BRF and Harry and Meghan should make a statement? I think Harry and Meghan do need to do something because they look complicit in this whole fiasco. They do. The more their silence goes, the more complicit they look. And then as well, I just think the palace needs to respond. They just do. They really do. They need to figure out some sort of response or just quiet response being, hey, Parliament, if you want to strip the titles, we won't have any issue with that. Just taking them off the website, that's a pretty easy fix. Just make their pages, put their pages to private, and then just leave it at that. What's the point of having them there? They don't need to be on the main website. It's like having Beatrice and Eugenie on there. I think Beatrice and Eugenie are great, but they shouldn't be on the website. If they're not working royals, if they don't represent the institution, why are Harry and Meghan there? Again, because I think that confuses people. Okay, we do have, I think I got that earlier. Okay. There's so much going on in this live stream, and I'm trying to make sure I get everybody. So we have Julie did notice there was no fake pop walks this time, trying to not overshadow royal appointments. I wonder why. Yeah, I think they've realized this was a pretty big boo-boo. This was a pretty big boo-boo. So I think Harry and Meghan are in absolute panic mode right now because things were already getting bad for them. And this is just the icing on the cake because the family won't trust them. The family now definitely 100% will not give them a route back. Charles will keep an avenue open just so he can see pictures of the grandkids, but that's it. Okay, so we have Peggy, one of our members. Thank you so much for the tip this morning. Good morning, Brittany. I believe Omid should be sued for slander and that Meghan has her hands all over this book. Hope that King Charles renounces their title something info. Something has to give. Yes. Something has got to give, I think, is just so key here. They can't do this anymore. They just cannot allow, the monarchy just cannot allow this to go on any longer. It has become an epic train wreck. I admire their desire to hope things get better. I admire that. I think that's a great thing. It's not going to get better, though, guys. Meghan Markle cannot abide by that. She cannot be somebody who is second fiddle in any stretch of the imagination. She will want to push this until you guys are all exasperated and just begging for mercy. That's who she is. That is who she is. So something has to give. And I think the monarchy needs to act. And I understand they don't need to act like right away. I think it's good for them to take a weekend and try to do some crisis talks and figure this out. But I think the big thing is, it's like you need to make it clear that Harry and Meghan are no longer part of the royal family and that they have a private access, but their public whatever is gone. And again, too, amended letters of patent as well. Kids don't need those titles. If they want them, they can live in the UK. If they don't want them, or sorry, if they want them, they can live in the UK. If they don't want to live in the UK, then they don't need those titles. Judith, thank you so much for the tip. You are so kind. She's one of our members. We have Older Wiser. Thank you so much for the tip. Now we know why he had Carolyn Durand for the first book. He wasn't interested in Can't Write Well either. She was his Mohinger. Yeah, I did get a copy of it. Shout out to Murky Meg who sent me a digital copy because I was just going to grab a used copy as soon as one of those came up. So I haven't had a chance to read it yet. So it'll be interesting to see. I might have strong opinions on it because I'm actually a writer, so I can actually have very strong opinions on that from a professional standpoint. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. I don't think anybody else is either. But yeah, Carolyn Durand, it's her side of this all is very interesting because she did get in with Omid Scobie on Finding Freedom, but then she also still really stuck to the background because he really wants to be the star. He really, really does. He's quite a little pathetic man there in that respect. Because again, fame shouldn't come from salacious gossip. If he's really wanting to put his mark on something, then be a good journalist. Be a good journalist. Don't do this. I love how Craig challenged Omid on This Morning going, well, you're kind of criticizing the tabloids, but this is pretty tabloidy too. And Omid's like, it was good. Diane Edwards, thank you so much for becoming a member. We love to have you here. We also have Cats Eat Cookies. Oh, did they eat cookies? Oh, thank you so much for becoming a member as well. Okay, let's keep going here. So many comments. So we have St. Elmo's Fire says, I'm sad because I thought Harry could have worked something out for him and his children regarding visiting the king, thus pushing Meghan more out of the whole family. Yes. And this definitely won't happen anymore. Any hope they had of some sort of reconciliation, I think is officially dead. I don't think Harry will ever have a good relationship with William again, ever. Especially now. I don't think Catherine and William probably even want Harry and Meghan around their children. Like I wouldn't because I couldn't trust them. So I totally get that. So Susan said, question, can King Charles sue? That is a question. I don't know in regards to jurisdictions, because obviously this information came from the Netherlands. So I don't know what it means for the UK and all this sort of stuff. So I don't know. Again, I don't know. I don't think they should sue Piers Morgan because he was the first to say it, because it was going to get out. Like, you can't avoid reporting on this. It was everywhere on social media. Just kind of bouncing around is just not great. So, Shaz says, thank you to the person that gave me a crown. Aw, that is so awesome. Azuma says, I hope Jessica Mulroney will reveal all of Meghan's secrets. Yes. I actually hope so too. It would be lovely to hear her talk. I'd love to hear her stories. And it would just be interesting to hear how that came together. But again, she might still be hoping for some sort of reconciliation with Meghan just to pad her own bank account or some sort of access. I'm not sure. So we will see. So we have Jane says, do you have an idea of what Meghan thought of Camilla and Beatrice? I don't really. I don't think Meghan liked Camilla, probably. And again, probably some of this had to do with, kind of distancing Harry from his father and obviously his stepmother. I don't think she took a liking to Camilla, and we know Camilla didn't take a liking to her. Camilla saw through Meghan really quickly. And I don't know about Beatrice. Beatrice, I have no idea. I don't think he's even talked much about Beatrice, so I don't know. So Denise says, good morning, Brittany. What a mess from Harry and Meghan. Oh, it was just a sacrificial lamb. Yeah, but I think he went willingly because I think he's lapping up all the attention. And he says, in Style People magazine and page 6, they're all bringing up William's fake affair, Meghan throwing more hate and jealousy. Yes, I hate that stupid fake affair because there's just no proof here. There is no proof whatsoever. We don't even have a single photo of William and this woman without their spouses present anywhere. Like, there's just no evidence to this dynamic. Like, it's just so dumb. And I feel so bad. So, we have Julie. Hi, Brittany. Just bought an Ana Lucia 0.25 cut emerald diamond pendant necklace. It's beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for the coupon code. Love your show. Why, thank you. I'm so glad you are liking it. I got some new earrings. So I have those on today. And then I have this like gradient, you can't tell, like necklace with like little diamonds around it. So I need to um tag this in my next show because it's so pretty. So I'm enjoying wearing this quite a bit. I'm doing all my stuff, and I got the tennis bracelet on. I just decided to leave it with my watch all the time. So I'm so glad you're liking it though, Julie. That's awesome. Millie, good morning, Brittany. Back after long illness, missed live feed. Hi, everybody from around the world. That is awesome. Okay. So the wrong shoes, Brittany. Would your history professor accept TikTok as a valid source, as in Omen's book? No, that's not a valid source. Valid sources are usually within academia, like other academic research. So they would have to be from an accredited research source, like an academic journal of some sort, because then they go through a peer reviewed process. So that means other people within your industry or within your specialty review your document or your article to see how good it is and different things. And so TikTok would not apply. I'm sure there's some kid on TikTok who is totally and completely tagging, like, or there's kids in college right now probably putting TikTok videos. Not that there's not some good information like history people on TikTok. I'm sure there are, but yeah, that wouldn't work. Mega says, question, Meg lied that Archie wouldn't be given a title because he's Black. Yes, 100%. He wasn't given a title because it was not included in the Letters of Patent. Letters of Patent was written by George V, I believe, and determined who would get a title. And so if you are the great-grandchild of the monarch, unless you are the child of the Prince of Wales, like the firstborn child of the Prince of Wales, then your children will have titles. But if you are not, ergo, your children will not get titles. So because of Harry and Meghan's children being the great-grandchildren of the monarch and them not being the firstborn son of the Prince of Wales, their children did not get titles. That's why they did not get titles. Nothing to do with skin tone, nothing to do with Meghan, everything to do with marrying the spare Meghan Markle. J. Arch, I met Catherine, Princess of Wales, and someone asked her about it. She said no. She said she's not racist. I don't think anybody. William did say that when asked, but I don't think Catherine has ever addressed it because she shouldn't address it. Just don't ever get into that engagement. It just will not end, which is a great thing to do. Let the palace machinery handle it. Carol says, Spare was the most discarded of all time, left behind in hotel rooms, pools, trash cans, etc. Endgame will meet the same fate. Yeah. And I don't understand why you would buy this book. Why would I spend good money on a book where the most important bits, the bits that everybody's talking about, are not in there? That's just dumb. That's what I don't get about this. If it was a publicity stunt, how is this supposed to encourage more people to buy books if the most important bits aren't there? Angela Walker said, Charles back this weekend. I think there will be another Sandringham talk this weekend. Yes, I think there will be a lot of discussion around the dinner table, you could say, or the Sandringham table, figuring out, okay, what do we do? Katie says, can't Parliament remove the titles without Charles's consent? Yes, but I think just for courtesy and relationship, they'd want the palaces okay. They want the palace to go, yes, we understand. We understand. Katie Gray says, while listening to Omid, at certain points, he sounds just like Meghan and using phrases she would. Yeah, they're definitely on the same wavelength. His bit too about, well, I've been in an emotionless bubble for the last 10 days. And I'm like, oh, so eye roll inducing. So yes, Chelsea says Queen Margrethe set a precedence for how to deal with this. Charles should go this route without too much blowback at this point. Yes. Queen Margrethe of Denmark, she stripped the titles from her younger grandchildren, or not her younger grandchildren. Her grandchildren from the children from her younger son were demoted from princes and a princess to counts and a countess. That's the way to do it. Some of them were even adults when this occurred. It's not particularly pleasant, I would say. Obviously, there were a lot of frustration, I think, on all sides with how everything went down, but I think that's the way to do it. We have Patricia, who has become a YouTube member. Thank you so much, Patricia. I'm so excited for you to join our little community and see a precious little video of my dog, Miss Pippa, who is currently sleeping downstairs. Don't you think the backlash will be huge if they're stripped of the titles? Race raiders will be all over it. I can see that technically, yes, but also kind of no at this point, because I just don't think people are just angry and frustrated. And I don't think anybody believes them anymore. And it's like they'll still act the victim. So go ahead and do it. Just let them pout, let them whine, let them complain, let them cry. Who cares at this point? You need to do what you need to do to protect you. And I think that'll serve everybody better in the longer run than this dilly-dallying we're doing right now. We also have Diane Edwards, who's a new member and gifted 5 Real News Network memberships. That's so awesome. Thank you. So Nobel says, thoughts on Crown Princess Victoria and hubby's visit to the UK and on Princess of Wales' dress at the Royal Variety Show. I thought loved that Crown Princess Victoria was there. I thought she looked fabulous. She is a very hardworking royal. I think she's lovely, very sweet. She's also fun to photograph. I got to photograph her a lot at her father's Golden Jubilee. She was at the concert, and I got to photograph a lot of them there. And that was just so, so fun. She is very expressive, very engaged. And so it's just fun to kind of photograph somebody like her. So I'm excited that she was there. And then also we have, let's see, what else do we have? So the Princess of Wales' dress. I didn't like some aspects of it because I didn't like the way it was fit kind of around her waist. That would be probably my only critique. And it was like exactly like the Jenny Packham dress. I thought at first it was Jenny Packham because it looked exactly like the dress she wore for the state banquet last year. Like the design and stuff is essentially the same. So I thought the color was great though. I really liked the color, but some of the fit around the waist I wasn't super excited about. It just looked kind of weird when she was first kind of getting out of the car and walking up. But I thought her hair looked great. Her makeup looked fantastic. And I thought it was really good for her to go out like nothing's wrong, because that really does, I think, annoy Harry and Meghan and Omid even more. It's like they did all this and the royal family is still going on. They're not phased in the slightest. So I think that's fantastic. All right. And we also have a new member in Laura Van Zellen. Thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. I really do appreciate it. And let's see here. We have Blackpink. Do you happen to have any updates on other monarchs? Seems like it's been silent. So I kind of decided to change up what I was doing a little bit. And things have been so busy this week, I haven't had a chance to get quite as much into it. But what I want to do is actually do some more like shorts on the other royals. Because sometimes I think my intros, including what the other royals were doing, was so long that I think some people were dropping out of the video. So I decided to mix it up a bit. So we shall see how that goes. I did that a little bit with Catherine and William and the state visit from South Korea, and then everything got super crazy. So I'd love to do kind of a short breakdown of what everybody's doing more in the shorts format, because I think there's a lot going on. Although honestly, this week it's been so much of the Omid Scobie situation. I haven't had quite as much to look at for the other royals, but we do know Queen Sylvia, her 80th birthday is later this month. So her daughter Madeline came in from Florida. And so while Victoria and Daniel were there in the UK, Madeline and Prince Carl Philip went with their parents, King Carl Gustaf and Queen Sylvia, to a concert in her honor. And then we also have Queen Maxima did a couple of engagements. And she had this one dress that looked absolutely fabulous and crazy. It was awesome. And I think, and there was the Parliament reopened in Spain. So we had Queen Letizia there, obviously, and King Philippe. And then we also had their daughter, Princess Leonor. So this is another one of her big first kind of engagements. So we had a couple of those there as well. Okay, and we have Deandra. Hi, B. Scobie and Harry and Meghan act like Lord Voldemort, an evil wannabe queen trying to get rid of Princess Catherine's reputation in the monarchy. Yes, and I don't think it's going well. It's really, really, really not going well. It's just kind of become an epic disaster for them. And couldn't happen to nicer people. It's a little bit of sarcasm there. All right. And we do have Renee. Thank you so much for the tip this morning. I do appreciate it. And so Rich says, what is so appalling is that this childish behavior is going on while people are trying to survive and cannot even buy groceries. The selfishness is sickening. Yeah, they're all about themselves. So that is what that is. We have Unabridged Book Club. Carolyn Duran was a producer for Oprah, and Oprah just pinned a book, Build the Life You Want. Wonder if Meghan's trying to take that. Meghan tries to manifest things. I don't think it's going too well. Because manifesting sometimes doesn't work. I know that probably bursts some people's bubbles. Sometimes you have to do something called hard work, which Meghan seems allergic to. So Jacqueline says, I totally agree with you. Yes, I don't know where Kathy Keene came from. It is an utter mystery to me. I have no idea where that came from because I've never heard that. And again, if it's not a British thing, again, probably wouldn't know. Um, Asma says, why does Scobie hate Catherine? Probably because she didn't like him or didn't give him the respect he thought he deserved. Respect is earned. And that's what people like Meghan and Omid Scobie just don't seem to understand either. It's like respect is earned. So you need to earn the respect, not just demand it. We have Aunt Nanny Granny says, good morning, Brittany and friends and from this chilly Michigan morning. So yeah, it's thankfully a little warmer where I'm at. We've had a couple of cold days and watching a place where I used to live where it was really cold. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I don't live there anymore. So I hope you're staying warm and enjoying the fireplace. Nana, one of our members, says he is apparently in his 40s. Apparently he is 42. Although he did lie to the Times about his age, claiming that he was 33 when he was 38. So this was a couple years ago. And lying about your age to somebody within your own industry sounds like a kind of dumb idea. And it didn't go well. So you got called on it, which I thought was really kind of funny. And that they brought it up again in the interview was so funny. And he says Stephen Colbert's H Spare interview, Harry speculated that what their kids would look like and that the Spencer Ginger gene is strong against his wife's genes. Same combo Royals allegedly had Shirley. Yeah, and since ginger hair is a recessive gene, most likely actually it came from Harry and Meghan. Because she's also quite white. So I don't think it's all of it. And their kids look very white. So not trying to make any sort of special statements there or something, just making an observation. Okay, we have Per Majesty the Queen. My schedule has been so hectic. I've missed lives recently. Excited to finally catch you this morning. You're my favorite thing about Saturday mornings. Oh, I thank you. Thank you. These are always so fun. It's so fun to interact with everyone and hear everyone's thoughts on this, especially because this has just been such a crazy week. 3,000. It's been a while since we've had 3,000, more than 3,000 on. I think the highest live stream I ever had was after I had met Catherine. So, and I gotten the selfie, which was so cool. That is still like a live stream for the ages. Rose said, with all that happened, I question what was Harry's like pre-Meghan. He was, I mean, I think he still had issues, but I think he was kinder, more understanding, and I think he had less therapy and was doing a lot better. I don't think therapy is always that great sometimes, because sometimes I think depending on the therapist and how they help you, I think you start sometimes regurgitating things you should probably let go. And I think that's where Harry is. And so I think he always had a bit of a chip on his shoulder, but I think it was much better until Meghan came in. And I think Meghan really fueled his narcissism, telling him how great he was, that he was excellent. Oh my gosh, you're the best ever. Why aren't you the king? And I think he believed the hype was feeding him. And that was his mistake. Fiona asked, definitely publicity stunt to sell books, but Meghan's hand is all over this fun. Isn't this funny how her letters seem to get leaked now that let's see who's panicking. Yeah, so her letters tend to get leaked and that doesn't happen all the time. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's like very telling. All right, and we have Fan. Buckingham Palace needs to completely throw out never complain, never explain mantra. It took me a while to understand it, but now I get it. Yeah, it's a good mantra, but they don't need to explain necessarily or complain, but they need to respond. They do. They need to figure out how to respond and how to put Harry and Meghan in their place. That might sound mean, but that's what they need to do for sure. So, Mariella, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. That's so exciting. We also have Sugar Cookie gifted one YouTube membership. That is awesome. Cindy says, is there any more inheritance money to come from Harry? I mean, I've heard stories that he has to wait till he's 40 to get all of it, but I don't know that for sure. I don't feel like getting too far down that rabbit hole. But obviously, if they stay married for 10 years, at least in California, everything gets split even Stevens. But I don't know. I mean, technically, since Meghan was the only one who worked for Spotify, she should get that money, but I don't know how all this will shake out, to be honest. Could you do a video on red carpet etiquette? There are actual red carpet rules. Recently, Meghan had to be pushed off the red carpet. I probably won't do that because it doesn't fit within what I do within like the royal wheelhouse. But yeah, there is etiquette, and I don't think she was necessarily being pushed off, but she was being encouraged. Like, her attention, she needed to get her attention, and she needed to either move on to that interview or what have you. But I did think it was funny that Variety kept the picture of the assistant's hand in one of their Instagram images. I thought that was like hilarious. Clarissa says, when will Netflix drop them? Probably this year or next year, or sorry, no, 2024, 2025. I've heard their contract is up next year or the year after. I would get rid of them if I was Netflix, because what are they offering? What are they adding to you guys at this point? Nothing. So might as well get somebody else who does better or actually knows what they're doing. So we have it's Megan, like Reagan says, I don't see what's wrong with Catherine prioritizing her children over work. She's in a position to be able to do that. Why is that criticized? I would say because although she is a mother, and that's of course 100% what she should put first in her family, at the same time she also has a job. When you marry a royal, you marry the job. And so if she's not seen working, then there's questions that come up of, okay, so what is she doing? Because she does have the latitude, the luxury to allow, especially because her children are in school now and they're in school most of the day, she has the flexibility to go out and do engagements when they're in school. And so if she's not going out and doing that, there's questions become, well, what is she doing? Why are we paying for her if she's not really working for us? Because she is actually working for the British people. So that is the reason. I think sometimes William and Catherine, and I think it's good for William and Catherine too to actually show their children that even though they are working royals and that they of course put their family first, they also need to show their kids that the royal work they do is important, and sometimes that comes at the expense, sometimes, not all the time, of family time. And so I think that is a careful balance. I don't think William and Catherine always succeed at expressing that well or finding that balance. I would say again, I think the situation with William and the Women's World Cup, I don't think was handled particularly well, especially because they had been on break for so long, even though it was a long flight. And, he does have questions, environmental questions and stuff like that. There's always flights that leave from Australia or from the UK to Australia. I think it was still he should have gone. There wasn't really a good explanation why he didn't go. And again, that comes from trying to make sure you make your position clear and leave little room for interpretation. I don't think Catherine and William have always necessarily succeeded there. But I think here's the thing though. If Catherine raises three very well-adjusted, respectful children who enjoy the duty of royalty, some of the trappings of royalty as well, the tiaras, the gowns, the fun events, but can also do the very serious things, that'll be worth its weight in gold. That'll be worth its weight in gold. And there is a longer reveal for that. So that's why I think sometimes it's a bit challenging to people. But if they come in and the kids don't have issues at all, then I think everybody will just clap and go, yes, because they don't want another Harry and Meghan situation. American Woman says, Catherine has been a rock star lately, so I can see how jealous some may be. My guess is the Strathmore tiara could have been the thing that sent somebody over the edge. I think it would probably have frustrated Meghan, but obviously we saw the Strathmore before the book came out, so I don't think that was necessarily the case. But yeah, I don't think Meghan is particularly, oh goodness, I think Meghan has always been exceptionally jealous of Catherine. But there's nothing Catherine can do that she married the heir years before Meghan even met Harry. Like there's just nothing she can do. So I don't know why. Like this should not be a surprise. But anyways, Susan Horan says, Brittany, do you honestly see any way those names could have been revealed accidentally? Everything screams publicity stunt. It could have been released accidentally via the Dutch were given a draft that had not been signed off yet. They were given an early draft, and nobody circled back around to give them the updated draft. That is incredibly sloppy on part of the publisher, incredibly sloppy. But that could have definitely happened. I think that's more likely what happened. It could have been a publicity stunt, but again, I mean, it's just so open to litigation. It's so open to negative reactions. I don't know quite why you would do that. So, but then again, that's me and I hate that kind of stuff. So, Hannah says, question about tiaras. Have you ever thought about going to Russia to look at the tiaras they had? I thought looking through some of them last night and they are stunning. Yes, I would love to go. I was almost going to go to Russia a couple years ago. And then the whole Ukraine thing happened and that fell through. But I would love to go to Russia. I probably won't go right now for security reasons. But I would love to go there someday and see like the Winter Palace and stuff like that. Some of the places where Catherine the Great was, Peter the Great. I think that would be absolutely fantastic, like St. Petersburg and stuff. And I always loved the movie Anastasia as a kid. Thought that was an awesome movie. Just putting that out there. So I've always wanted to see that. But again, not everything you can get access to, but I'd love to do. But I do have, I know I've talked to people, we have a Scotland trip coming up. And then I will hopefully get one together for the south of France and then do another Germany and Austria one because I did think that one was really fun. And then I'm hoping to do a Christmas market one for next year. So if you want to go to Germany and Austria, spend some time in a little bit of the chill, but going to Christmas markets, like, doesn't that sound marvelous? Mary Ella, one of our members, gave a tip. I says, I want to humbly say as a nurse, the Princess of Wales is doing such wonderful things to spotlight early childhood development. So happy to join. That is awesome. I think that is fantastic. And yes, I think that is a passion of Catherine's and one that's taken a little bit to develop. I think that could have very much long-term implications. And I think that's fabulous. I think she could really make a mark there in the UK in a unique and interesting way. All right, Julie, thank you so much for the tip. You are so kind. And then we'll keep going here. Do you think William and Morris will drop them? Well, they've only signed Meghan. I don't even know why they keep her on, to be honest. Like, what is she doing? She literally goes to concerts and calls that work. So Marie says, I really think she and Harry, who thought because they were popular would be king, I think they really thought the royal family would bow down to them because they were popular. Yes. And I think that Meghan was mixed race. She really thought she was special too in just that instance. That because of that, they should pay more attention to her. And I'm like, no. G, not related to Tom. I heard Palace said it's just another book, and that was considering all options to comment. Yeah, but they're very slow to comment, so I give them a bit of a pass there. And then we also have Peeper Jean. Good morning, Brittany. I read there is speculation that Harry is the one who took the engagement ring from Meghan as a precaution due to the relationship being so rocky. Your thoughts? Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. If he just wants to keep on to it, or maybe she threw it at him or something and he's like, I'm gonna keep this because this is mine, I gave this to you. But I also can see Meghan, she hated that engagement ring. Like as soon as she could, she changed everything about that ring. She changed the design, she changed the aesthetic, all those things about that ring. But I think again, she could be keeping it off because she wants to kind of control Harry and stuff. I don't know. It's really quite sad. So we have Blackpink says with Harry's narcissism, I bet she dreamed a lot of shiny, unrealistic things, thinking she was a fairy tale princess the moment she got engaged to Harry. Yeah, I think 100%, especially for a woman who was close to 40, like her delusions there were quite impressive. Because that's definitely not the case. Definitely not the case. So it was just never going to happen the way she wanted it to. She was completely unrealistic in that expectation. So it just was not going to work the way she wanted it to and ended up disastrously. And that's not a surprise. Lizzie said when they left, I said, what if Hollywood doesn't work out? Meghan is not a Scarlett Johansson or an Anna Hathaway. She doesn't have enough clout with the bigwigs. Yeah, that title got them so far. And then everybody saw their work ethic and what they could produce. And they're like, oh, crud. I loved People Magazine said that somebody in the industry goes, yeah, we overpaid for them. I'm like, yes, you did. You overpaid for them. I realize how far behind I'm comments now. I don't know if we'll get to the end, guys. I'm so sorry. I usually try to at least get somewhat close to the end, but I don't think that'll happen today. Asma says Netflix keeps pushing Suits on me. I'm not surprised. Big tech equals doing online marketing. Maybe that just doesn't, the big tech thing to me just makes no sense. I'm like, how are you guys in big tech? You literally go and nag like big multi-billion-dollar corporations about social media. That's what you go over there and you nag them. Call Me Cordelia says, I think she thought she could get in and turn William's eye and he would forget everything for her, what Meghan wants Meghan gets. I don't know necessarily, but I definitely think she thought she could charm everybody into giving her what she wanted, and that's not the case. Nana says, even Harry said they never thought it was racist. Remember his interview on ITV? Yes, but that narrative had gone on for so long. They obviously did at the time. And then when it really wasn't getting the traction they wanted, they kind of backtracked and said, oh, it was unconscious bias. But yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. So Steven says their big tech is their support on controlling the censorship of every wrong post, thoughts, and opinions. Yes. They don't want to help keep people safe on social media. They want silence of their critics on social media. Crystal W says, question, I know Harry isn't innocent, but do you think Meghan Markle is feeding Scobie behind Harry's back? 100%. I think she's always been feeding people behind his back and making their lives worse because she's always epically trying to change the narrative about them. Epically trying to change the narrative. It just goes on and on. Angela says she's acting out now out of frustration because of all her failures. Yes, she has failed a lot. And they even mentioned that in the recent statement. Like, they failed a ton and they're going to keep failing because they're not in a business that's suited for them. And so it's just going to be a disaster. Dana says it all comes down to remark about Archie. That's all they've got. Yep. But they've dragged that out for as much as it's worth. They gave it to Oprah. They let her make all the insinuations. They let it drive. And then, like, again, it had this initial reaction where people are on their side. And then as time's gone on, that wave has slowly drained down to a trickle. Okay. Dan says, hopefully this translator can get a copy of the manuscript. The only thing I'm wondering here, and I would think that could be the case, especially for a sensitive book, is that once they translate it, they give the manuscript back, and then it's destroyed. It's the only thing I can think of. Callie says, why are the Dutch publishers hiding the truth about the copy Omid sent them? I don't know, because I would totally, especially if I have to eat the cost of republishing the book, you bet your bottom dollar I'd be suing the bejesus off of them. Because I'd be like, this was your stinking mistake. Yeah. Dory says, why do people always threat with what about a good promise? I don't know. I don't know why people do that. Ren says that they say the book is Chat GPT wrote it. Is it possible Omid Scobie to use Chat GPT given most of his recycled usual tabloid stories? Possibly. Because what we found a lot too is that, people who claim to be all that great usually cut corners to get what they want to produce things. What is the deal with all this mixed racing? Who really cares nowadays? I don't really care. But Harry and Meghan do. Somebody's obsessed with it. But I think I'll take that back. Meghan's obsessed because I think she knew it could be used as leverage. And it worked at the time she initially said it, but I think people are just not liking those excuses as much anymore. Sorry, guys, my nose is itchy. Jackie says, was this book translated in any other language besides Dutch? Were the names in those translations? I think in Italian there was a bit of something, but obviously the most egregious was in Dutch. Savannah says, how many times have you heard this of a translator adding paragraphs to a manuscript or specific names they do not know? Exactly. And if they are accurate, as Meghan seems to insinuate they are with her statement, they were obviously accurate. So how could she make up the correct names? That doesn't make any sense. Yes. Barbara says, yes, to be an MA or a PhD in history, most likely have to have a good working knowledge of another language. Correct. Usually too, if you're like focusing on European, French and German are usually the kind of pinnacle, but it depends on what time period you're studying. There's a lot of different questions and issues. Like if you go medieval, then you have to know like Latin, maybe even in some cases Greek. Like if you go ancient, then you have to know like 7 or 8 languages. So it gets more complicated depending on which time period you're in. Jackie says, how can Harry and Meghan even think they would get an invitation to Christmas after this book has come out? Why would they want to go? That's the big question. That's a big question. I don't know. They're not exceptionally bright people. Come to that conclusion over the years. Like they've made some incredibly stupid decisions. Like Megxit, when you look at it, was an incredibly stupid decision because they initiated it thinking they could get their way. Like they had no like concept of the fact that they might not get their way. And when it went badly, they were like, "What? What? It went badly? Like they didn't give us what we wanted?" It's like, "Yeah, duh, you had no leverage." Okay, Asma says, "Did you read Endgame?" Not yet, but I do have a copy of it. I don't know when I'll get to it though, because I have my big paper due next week. So I might have to prioritize that. And then I have one more thing and then I'll be done. And so it might be after that. But I'll look forward to totally like going through that and absolutely trashing it, or at least calling out all the things that I know are wrong. There's some like Hugo Vickers did a great job like explaining a lot of like the intricacies, things that are wrong. I don't know the intricacies of some of the royal protocols and stuff as much as some people, but I do know things that generally scream to me as that doesn't make sense. Ian Paris says, do you think the translation thing was schemed up by Scobie and Meghan to get around Harry who didn't want to release the names? Well, clearly Scobie was told the names by someone. I don't know who that person is, but somebody told him. And he sat on those. But when you listen to his ITV interview, which I'll make live after this, so we may wrap up here before too long, but he mentioned that he was surprised Harry and Meghan didn't go into the racism thing more. And he was frustrated by the lack of progress on that topic. Omid Scobie was obsessed, I think, with releasing the names. He's not sorry for them being released. He's not really upset about them. He's just frustrated. But he really wanted those names out there. So this is totally, I think, on Scobie in a lot of ways. Maybe him conspiring with Meghan. He definitely, though, wanted those names out there. He 100% did. Uh-huh. Aw, this is cute. Dory says, I save turtles all the time so they aren't killed on the road. For anyone interested, always cross the turtle in the direction it is pointed. Otherwise, it'll go back again, putting itself in danger. Aw, I'm always so worried when I see a turtle on the road. I'm like, no, why are you on the road? And it's never like a good road where you can pull off and help them. It's like always a pretty dangerous location. So I'm like, I can't stop. But I'm like, why are you doing that, Mr. Turtle? Isn't there a better spot for you to go? Sanders says, of course, Invictus is not just for the American military, but that makes you all the more right. His numbers are negligible, almost. Yes, they're so minuscule. The number, if only like 550 competitors overall are there, like that's so tiny. And granted, I realize not everybody wants to go, but I think at the same time, it's like, okay, I would hope like a couple thousand people were participating, not just 500. Chris says, morning, do you think the Waleses were able to walk openly to the Crown Princess Victoria, talk openly to Crown Princess Victoria freely about being hurt? Are they friends that can understand, feel awful for the Waleses? They may have talked a little bit about it, but I would think too, Crown Princess Victoria, I think she's a very sweet person. I think she's very sweet and warm. And I think she was like, too, you know what? This would be my thing. It's like, I don't want to talk about it. And so Victoria, I'm sure it was like, let's talk about our kids. Let's talk about our work. Let's not talk about this ugly, ugly thing from these ugly, ugly people. So that's what I think. That's what I think. So Margaret says, it bothers me that no one questions the date the conversation took place. Harry said it was one conversation which took place earlier in the relationship before Harry and Meghan were engaged. And Meghan says it took place a couple of times while she was pregnant. A lot of people have brought up that issue. And I don't think there's any specific date somebody could attribute to that. But I think most people are just like, it was probably a conversation that got blown way, way, way out of proportion. Just way, way, way out of proportion. So, oh, I lost something. So Marble had said, I think Eugenie may have shared with Meghan and Harry that there was a conversation or joke in the family, something mild and funny, but something she took and spun into racism. Um, I don't think so because the story apparently it was addressed to Harry. Harry was there and heard it, so I don't think that's necessarily the case. Shaz says, do you think the king should do what they do in Sweden? That if Archie and Lily have titles, they need to live in the UK and be educated in the UK. And thank you so much for the tip. And yes, I've advocated for this a couple of times. I think the example in Sweden is what Charles should go with here. They must be raised and educated in the UK in order to have a title from the UK. I think that makes sense. Kids, because Archie and Lily will grow up making model missions from California. Like they'll be California kids. Like, why do they need titles of place they've only been to once or twice? Like Archie was born there, but he will only been back, we know, at least one time, and that's it. So why in the world is he called Prince Archie of Sussex? The kid doesn't even know where Sussex is. He has no connection to it. It's just dumb. Terry says, are there any countries bidding for the Invictus Games 2027? Harry has no international leverage anymore, and it'd be entirely awkward for the UK to bid, given the relations and the executive costs of covering Harry and Meghan. I don't know who is bidding on it. I wouldn't bid on it. I would tell no country to bid on those games because I don't think they're worthwhile. I don't think they generate money. I think they're a wasted expense. Like I think it's great to help our troops, but I think because Harry and Meghan wanted to be this huge production and show, I think it's become excessively expensive for what it really is and what audience it generates. It should reflect the audience that comes in, not the audience they think will come in. Okay. Coca says, have you watched the nearly 2 hour long video from 3 weeks ago from Feminine Tea about Meghan? Would be interested on your opinion on that. I have not, but that does sound interesting. Do you believe that Meghan was saving the names for her book, which might come out after the divorce? She could have been, so she might be frustrated that they came out and she didn't want them to come out quite yet. That could be the case too. Okay. So Blackpink says, I hope there are going to be more state visits from other monarchs soon and that the young heirs are going to start with these events as well. Yeah, me too. There is actually one upcoming in the Netherlands. So it's actually South Korea again. So they will be there in the Netherlands, I believe the 12th and 13th of December. So that is the last state visit I'm aware of. There was supposed to be a state visit between Sweden and France, but that one got canceled. So that is the one I'm looking forward to. And exciting news. We have the Swedish Nobel Prize ceremony next weekend. So it's going to be on Sunday. Cannot wait. I really wanted to attend this year, but I think I'll have to wait till next year. So Royal Daily Tea, hello. Good morning, Brittany. Translator has to come out and said the names are in the book. And she has it. I think Omid has shot himself in the foot. Yeah, I think it was incredibly stupid of him to say it was not in any, essentially implying it was not in any book he submitted. I was like, well, clearly it was at some point because she got the names, she got different paragraphs. So clearly it was. So did you see DeSantis versus a California governor? He called Meghan a traitor. I did not see that. No, that is interesting though. I just don't think people like her. And she's so convinced she's so likable. I'm like, I really don't think she is. Sugar Cookie asks, is Meghan still writing a book? I try not to use the nicknames. I know a lot of people like to, but I try not to. How much rehashing can you do? We've heard everything over and over. Hard to spin that. Yes. But Meghan Markle is convinced that she can tell us for the 53rd time about this same topic, that this time we'll believe her. Yeah. That's who Meghan is, guys. All right, Marilyn, we have tip from Marilyn. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And we also have Brenda. Thank you so much for the super sticker. You are so sweet this morning. It has been such an exciting live stream. It's been awesome. It's been awesome. It's been a while since we have one this hot, but everyone wants to talk about this. Where is Carolyn Duran? Kim asks, does anybody know? I do not, because she just hasn't done much beyond that. So let's see if we can get to. All right, let's go down here and see, because we'll go ahead because I have some things to do today and I'm sure you guys do too. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's so long. I was like, oh, I'll just power through and see if I can find Good question. Shaz says, I truly believe that Harry said both he and William would share the Prince of Wales titles and the duchy. When she realized that wouldn't happen, that's when she started turning. Probably. Probably. Jenny says, did you see the article about Catherine's uncle? It was so satisfying to hear somebody back Catherine. Yes. But he doesn't have the greatest reputation, guys. So I just would not get super excited about Uncle Gary. He was the one who was snorting cocaine with prostitutes or something. I forget the story. Daisy May says, do you think the palace will start revealing Meghan's secrets as a method of payback that can use the slow drips to the press? They may. That'd be lovely. Or leak although we would know it would come from them. But I'd love to hear more about what the bullying investigation revealed about Meghan. I don't think it revealed the great things about the family either, but I'd love to see what it revealed. Daisy May says, I hope the British royal family sues Omid. It will end his royal reporting forever. I think he's expecting to do, I think he's expecting this to be the last gasps of his career, but I don't know what his career is after this. So 1,000 sub goal Ash says, wish you wouldn't read that trash book. Well, I think it's important to read it and then be able to dissect it, and I'm really good at that. So it won't change my mind because I'll know when he's saying things that are wrong. Sandra says, I agree with you, Brittany. I think both Harry and Meghan are not too bright. Yeah, when you look at Brexit, that was just so dumb. So dumb. It was just such a bad idea. Such a bad idea. Oh my goodness. Because there's so many better things they could have done. Okay. So Star Girl, this is Jessica says, oh my goodness, I just woke up, made it. Yay, I love you, Brittany. Oh, thank you. Although I don't know how far away. Yeah, not too long. We're getting up there on close. And we have on the Unabridged Book Club saying the Booker Prize 2023 winner was announced this week. Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. Queen Camilla is a patron. That is awesome. All right. And we have, oops. Yeah, Stargirl here. I love your show, Brittany. Never make the lives on the West Coast. Thank you for this few extra minutes. Oh, yeah. There's so many comments and questions, and I know I missed some. So hopefully we can maybe get to those another time. We also have, it keeps moving, and then I click on something. Hi, Brittany. This is from Diane. Hey, Brittany, I had to pop off. Love this chat. Thanks. Going to enjoy being a member. Yay. I'm so excited. Steven says that maybe Omid was given a house and money in California, as he did say with this book, he was burning my bridges. Could be that's why he did it. Yeah, he wants to live the California lifestyle now with Meghan. So maybe he'll come back and be an entertainment reporter. So guys, we will go ahead and finish up this live stream today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exciting Saturday morning. I'm so sorry if I did not get to your question. There were just so many. So maybe we'll figure out something. I mentioned this last week, and I think I forgot to do it this week because everything got so crazy with the book. But I was thinking about doing shorts and answering a question a day or something. So if you guys are interested in that, we'll figure out how to get that from there. So guys, again, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys again next Saturday. Bye.